Moving on to my medium shapes, it would be this part of the cube. Now the reason I'm not drawing the lines inside, again, I'm just trying to keep it in the 2D realm and not drawing forms yet. Okay, so I got my medium shape. This one has the same amount of mass. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the triangle and classify it as a medium shape. And so is this circle. Okay, and then from there, I would classify the shadows as my small shapes. Okay. And then from there, I have my 3 layers. And what you can do is, instead of starting a new file, you can always combine them together. One thing I like to do is select all 3 layers. So I'm going to hold Shift and highlight all 3 layers for this image. And I'm going to stick them in a folder. So you'll see a folder symbol at the bottom here, create new group. And that'll be classified as group 1. So they'll kind of stay together. And if you decide to turn them off and on, you can work on a new group with a different set of images. And instead of trying to resize each and every single layer to try to get them to match, when you have them in a group, when they're all selected like this, you can easily size them around and just save it for your homework presentation. For this next demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and do something a little bit more complex. So here we have an image of a landscape. This is basically just a photograph I took many years ago on a little mini trip. So from here, we definitely have a lot more going on, but we're still going to treat it the same way by breaking down these simple shapes. So we'll go ahead and set up the file. Make sure that the proportions are correct. Make it large enough so it's easier for us to draw. Just like the other one, just change the opacity lower and we'll get to drawing. Again, it's really important to just get in the habit of drawing the border in first. It is definitely an important aspect for our designs and just image making overall. All right, so usually trying to pick what the largest shapes would be, I usually try to find what's easier to draw, like what's more apparent from here. And just like week 1, I'm dotting things off so it's easier for me to connect the lines. I don't want to be trying to sketch every single little detail in there like this. So I want to build off from what we learned last week and just kind of mark things off, dot them off, and connect the lines. It doesn't have to be super accurate like you see here. It's all about trying to get that true mark. Okay, from here we also have this long pole. For those of you that are doing this both traditionally and digitally, you'll notice the pros and cons of each one. For doing a lot of line work, if you don't have a Cintiq, it's definitely much easier to do line work with just pencils and pens on paper. Of course, if you can afford one, Cintiqs are a great investment if you do a lot of line work. Okay, so just getting the shape of this building down. Now, yes, I don't see the roof, the entire roof at least, but I can see where it starts and ends. So I'm going to do my best to pretend this is see-through and try to get the line in there. Okay, especially behind all these bushes. in trees, I can try to imagine how this side looks. All right. Okay, so there's also all the foliage that's going on around this landscape, which is the next thing for me to tackle. Even though there isn't a clear divider here where the trees meets the dirt, I'm going to do my best to just simplify and make a straight line for now, just so it's easier for me to draw. And then from there, I'm going to use simple ovals and circles and organic simple shapes to break down the rest of the foliage. So this palm tree in the back, maybe just a circle. And then something like this for the trunk. So it's kind of like a lollipop shape. And the thing about shape simplification, when you're breaking down your image like this, there isn't so much a right or wrong answer. Now, a different artist might choose to break down the shapes a little bit differently. For example, with this tree here, one might choose to use only straight lines to simplify the shape. So that's one solution. Another solution might be to use just an oval, like so. Now, this exercise, you can kind of pick and choose and experiment with different shapes and see what works best for you and what you're more comfortable with. So again, it's kind of a trial and error thing, but in general, no artist is the same as another. Just as long as you're not trying to break down each little flower like such, that'll just take way too long and it doesn't help you at all with your drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify these trunks. And the rest of the foliage. And just some details in the architecture that's important, like this door. And perhaps a line that can connect these details here. So instead of trying to break down each little shape in this area, there is one unifying shape in here that I can use to connect. Okay. So we can double check our work just to see how the shape simplification is working. I see that I've missed a few areas. So this foliage here, and I could probably group some of the flowers into circles. And then just kind of go back and forth to see what shapes we can edit. There are a few in here that I'm not entirely happy with yet, but it is a work in progress. So it's mainly on this side for me where I have too many things going on like this, and it's not really that simple. So what I'm going to do is actually create this into one larger shape. That simplifies it a lot easier. So that's definitely something I'm a lot happier with versus the one where it had too many stair steps going on and it just made it more complex than it needed to be. All right. And as usual, go ahead and color code the rest. And I'll most likely speed up this next section in order to just get through this demo. Continue doing this assignment until you have at least 4 done. And again, this warm-up is flexible enough that you can do it either traditionally or digitally. When you are done, however, make sure you include them on a single sheet like so. You want to group them up and also label them with letters. That way it's easier for me to critique, as well as we'll be using this for a later assignment. Even though we are tracing over photos, make sure you take your time and really analyze these shapes and continue to practice what we've learned from week 1. And once you've gotten comfortable with this warm-up, you'll be ready for the next section.